all for being here. Actually, I thought about speaking about Star Citizen or speaking about music in general. And I thought it would be cool to speak about music in general. I'm also open to any questions about the music in Star Citizen. But I think it's also because hopefully people that come here could take some of it to their own lives or their own art, whatever it is. And I hope it helps you. To pay a size, I have to be here, right? Sorry? So there is no point, like, no. Okay, no problem. So my name is Pedro. Thank you, and once again. And what I'm going to speak with you about is about mathematics and music, which is something that people might not know, but I love mathematics just as much as I love music, but because I'm an engineer as well. I studied civil engineering for a long time in the university before having also side-by-side with composition. What happened is that afterwards I became, a composer, and so I started just doing that. But mathematics never left my soul and myself. And what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you how I use mathematics, for example, in my concert music, which is already related with Star Citizen, because if you don't know, this concert music, which was my Requiem in as a concert, was actually the first piece that Chris Roberts saw and actually made him want to listen more of my music, which was super cool. So maybe mathematics has had to do with it. Who knows? He heard it and he enjoyed it. How it happens usually is have everyone. By the way, I'm speaking in English. Does everyone understand English well? Ever? Cool. Yeah, okay. So basically, since for a long time, the great composers in history have used the Fibonacci series and the golden proportions to control their music text like the music dialogue. And this is something I use in my classical music and also in Star Citizen to control where the music should have its climax. You know when you, in case none of you knows about the Fibonacci series or the golden proportions, it's basically in everyday life without us noticing. So it only makes sense that this kind of language exists in music because when it's properly done, what happens? It's just like when you're hearing a Beethoven piece, and at some point, when you reach that really forte, and it just feels like, oh, it feels so good because you've waited so long for it, and it finally comes that climax that you were expecting, and usually, when you control the music composition to wait for the moment to arrive and then calm down appropriately, it just gives you a sensation of perfection. And that's what music tries to give us. And at least for me, I like to go to music to feel a sense of peace and perfection in my life that sometimes doesn't exist, or sometimes exists for a while. So here. So basically, what you have here is a golden rectangle, and basically you can do it by having a square and using the compass to target that upper corner and go down. And what happens if you have that rectangle with a 1 meter or whatever high? It goes to 1.618. Actually, it's not that. It's an irrational number. If I'm not mistaken, this is 1 plus the square root of 5 divided by 2. I think it's that, but I'm not entirely sure because it's been a long time. But anyway, for music terms, this is approximate enough. And when I composed the Requiem in the Castro, if you want to search it someday, actually, it was about the death of someone. So very briefly, it was about the queen, which was the king. We actually had my name, Pedro, 700 years ago. He had a wife, but it was not the love of his life. Love of his life was Inés de Castro, which he had 3 sons. the father of Pedro, of king of this, the Pedro, which would be king of Portugal, didn't want that to happen. Why? Because she was from Galicia, and if that happened, Portugal and Spain would become one country as a whole, and Portugal would lose the independence, which could not happen. So Pedro's father ordered to be in his castle and all the 3 children to be killed to solve the problem. So that's really dramatic. And King Pedro loved Inês de Castro so much that when he went to the throne, he crowned her as Queen of Portugal, not legally, but because she was dead. But he made a ceremony for that. And also he ordered to create a monastery, which still exists, which is the Alcobaça Monastery, a little bit north of Lisbon. And you should go there because there's still in there the tombs of Inês de Castro and Pedro side by side by his order. So he ordered the monastery to be built so she could be there. And he said, when I die, I want to be next to her. That's a really touching story. You should search or Google for it. So I was super honored that I was invited long ago to write the first requiem to the Inês Castro memory. It was a fantastic concert. This is one of the concerts. So basically, since it was an imperfect situation, I used 2 series. I thought I should not use the Fibonacci series, which represent perfection, when it starts, because that's when Pedro reaches Inês de Castro, and she's dead. So I used like a condensed series, which is the one below, and I actually used an Excel sheet to control all the proportions. So that's the movement. So it is 7 movements, the whole work, and the proportions start, with the imperfect proportion in the start, which is when Inês de Castro is dead, and then all goes all the way to the last movement, which is when Inês de Castro is in heaven, because the last movement in the Requiem is in Paradisum. So when you go to heaven, things are just perfect, and that's the first time so you go towards perfection in this classical work. And so I actually did an Excel spreadsheet. Well, it had more stuff. I just simplified. There's a lot more. But this is just to control the main climax. So each of the 7 movements, as you can see, these are the number of final measures. And the proportion value, and using the math, it means that in the first movement, the climax must be done in measure almost 52. That's where it happens, actually, as you see. So that must mean the most meaningful moment of the piece. And this happened the first time the whole choir comes in and sings Exaudi, Exaudi, which is the choir in this moment represents a choir of angels asking God to hear the prayers from King Pedro, because that's the bassist who is singing. So I will give a short moment of the classical piece. It will be black and white, and when the golden moment appears, it will be in color. So I think you will understand. Can we put the audio from? Can you put the audio from the computer, please? No. No, it's not working. Well. Sorry, technical difficulties. Can we play back? It is already in playback. But I don't see you, and people don't. Can I? Yeah, sure. No problem. If there is any problem, I go to the YouTube video and do it in a more archaic way, but no problems. For those who arrived late, I will just explain a little bit more. So one of the classical pieces I wrote when I was younger was around 12 years ago, actually, was the Requiem in Castro. And this was one of the pieces I showed that Chris Roberts, and he heard it, and he enjoyed it. And that's how I got to become one of the reasons why I became the composer and star-singer. So I thought it would make sense to speak about it. Because usually people think music is all about inspiration and just, you just saw awesome images and everything just comes together in your head. But many times to create a track or to make it sound, be more special to you and to those who listen, I think creating mathematics, okay, good. Okay, thank you so much. Can you put louder, please? Can be louder. You can go louder a little bit more. Another example. This example, it will be just slightly longer, which is the third movement, which is the shortest movement of the whole Requiem, where I'll play from the start until the actual climax, so you can feel musically how it feels. Because I think when the composition is good, the climax should not be imposed to the listener. It should be a consequence of everything that just is naturally going to happen. It has to happen. And when it happens, you feel like, oh, we're there, we are in the climax. And it actually is, in fact, the golden proportion of that movement. In this case, it's not exactly the golden proportion, as I told you initially, because the proportion is becoming into the golden proportion. So this was movement 3, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. And it's, did you feel what is the climax? It just, I mean, to me, I felt goosebumps because this music means a lot to me for many reasons. And so just so you know, it was all calculated on the measure level. So not only the measure level, but actually the tempo in the measure that should occur. So I think that helps to create the music more meaning to someone, at least for me. And last but not least, this is the last movement. I'm not going to show all of it, but this movement is very different. This is in another concert, so every footage you saw was in a different place and with a different choir. This was a choir with more than 200 people, and there was children in it, which is awesome, because this last movement tries to explain in music what is paradise to me, at least. And where we achieve perfection. I didn't want Paradise to have a huge climax as like the Hosanna, because it didn't make sense to me. The Paradise is just always perfect. So I used the highest note ever in the whole Requiem to be played by the solo violinist here in the actual global golden proportion. Just a portion of that. So then, why do we use music? And I will give you a few examples of stuff that I did without music, and how ridiculous it sounds. This is not from Stars Into the Yet. This is a commercial. It was a tough one because the director had a lot of trouble to find the right track for it. And I want to show you what I got. This is what I got. Football tournament online, but from... No. So I was looking at this. Yeah, it's Portugal. It's about Portugal. And there's a mother who tells to turn off the computer. And then at some point there's a goal by Cristiano Ronaldo, which everyone knows. And I thought that should be one of the climax, or maybe the climax, just like in a golden proportion, but it had to be... Yeah. So I thought, okay, my music has to reach this point. This is the highest point, and everything else is just a consequence of that. So I'll show you two approaches of music. I did several tracks, just to explain to you how music can change the whole conception of what you're saying. This first one, I thought I scored it because I thought, okay, I would score it as to make the player feel like a badass. That's it. I mean, like, I'm a badass and I'm the best. So it was a more egocentric, not a triumphant, glorious, making the film glorious with more about me. So this was the approach.
Sagra-se assim, campeão da Europa. Vejamos. Figo, que grande golo! Para a direita, para a esquerda. E gol!
Então, João, quer juntar-te à minha equipa?
Cristiano!
Hated it or something. But yeah, I liked it. But so I did a couple more versions, and this was the final one that was approved. And you see, I think the whole movie just becomes completely different.
Lembras quando mandavam sempre para a baliza? Tu pensavas, ok, é só um jogo. E quando chegavas a casa e te vingavas, também era só um jogo.
Da Grécia! Sagra-se assim, campeão!
Isto também foi só um jogo. Lembras-te quando reescrevias a história e cumprias o sonho de uma nação? Ou quando demoravas a ir para a mesa e a tua mãe dizia...
Era só um jogo e estás aí há horas.
E quando as coisas corriam, lembras-te de dizer... Não fiques assim, é só um jogo. Quando os teus heróis de repente eram teus colegas de equipa.
Então, João, quer juntar-te à minha equipa?
Sim, mas era só um jogo. Lembras-te quando fazias do teu clube bicampeão nacional? Ou quando milhares de fãs vibravam e celebravam contigo? Também era só um jogo. Lembras-te quando voltaste a deixar o nome de Portugal na história do futebol? Lembras-te? Era só um jogo. Mas tu sabes que nunca foi, nem nunca será só um jogo.
The one that that was broadcasted. And so about Star Citizen, I'm going to show you something recent that you probably know. And this is what I got a few months ago. It was this. You probably know that. I was really scared when I saw this because, you know, Star Citizen is a project that we all love. I myself included, I really love the project. I'm not kidding. There's many things that make me love the project, but maybe a quick one is that my father was actually a Wing Commander fan. He loved playing Wing Commander with me. I remember playing with him, and it's kind of unreal to think that he passed away a few years after we played it, and it kind of feels surreal that that so many years later, 30 or more than 30 years, this happens. But I do think one thing, it is not about me having, it's about every one of you. And because I believe that if you dream something really hard and you have something that drives you, whatever it is, I think there is a way. Just so you have in mind, when I started making music in 2006, I said since I was from Portugal, I would have absolutely no chance to ever score anything. I mean, this was spoken by directors and producers and composer friends which were not from Portugal. Say, yeah, you have no chance. You live in Portugal. No one cares about Portugal. It's impossible you will ever do it. I should have quit. That will be the normal thing to do, but I didn't. And even worse, I live in Madeira Island. That's, God knows where that is. It's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And because I believe in myself, I'm stubborn and glad I am. I just kept going and kept working harder and really harder. And here we are together so many years later. Glad I didn't listen to all the people that said I shouldn't do it. And so when it came to this video, and it was an important phase. Every video, every marketing piece for me could be the last marketing piece. I always think like that. And we have to make it work because I want it. It's not just about my work there or my music. It's about the work of the hundreds of artists and producers and so many people in CIG that depend on what is going to be shown. So when I look at this, and it's spectacular technically, you all know that, I look at it and say, oh my goodness, for each section of this is one person that spent months working on it, or more, God knows how much time. So it, to me, is very special. I wanted to make it special. But it's frightening when you see the video without music, and you have completely freedom to do whatever you want. And well, in this case, most of you probably know the music, but here goes. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing this. And I gave a homage to the Star Citizen main theme. Can you put it louder? Oh, cool. This is the main theme again. I think there was... To me, it's still emotional for me to hear this part. I wanted the planets to feel as exciting to me as it was to you, but I wanted someone that never heard about Stars and understand why we love the game. But then I had to hold the climax because I wanted the climax to appear in the right spot, so I had to hold the harmony progression. Okay, we needed a few. Okay, and we're going to the bar. I think that was a good. Okay, this is where humanity is. That's why there's this small climax here. It's all about proportions as well. I use the golden proportions in this tracks, so you don't notice, but I hope you feel it. Okay, so it's just a bit, you know the rest probably, or some of you know, but it's just to tell you that all the ideas that I told you about, the mathematics and how the music has to be guided, they are all important because that ultimately makes a difference how you present the music. So this is, well, this is about something else. About building perfection. What I mean when I say a building perfection, usually there are some people that come to me and think, "Oh, you're just very talented. You're just lucky." And I said, "No, I actually really work hard." And this was another soundtrack that I did, not for Star Citizen. I did together with Star Citizen, which was Chorus. It was kind of a small game, but it was actually meant a lot to me because I was very lucky to win a very big award in Hollywood Music and Media Awards in 2022. The other nominees which were there, and Tom Hanks apparently was there as well, was Bear McCreary, which I love his music, and he did an awesome job on God of War, and he was nominated. Also, the Guerrilla team with the Horizon Forbidden West was nominated, and also in Assassin's Creed, Dawn of Ragnarok was also nominated, which actually won a Grammy months later. And this game, which no one knew about, was this Chorus. What's Chorus? It's a German, almost indie game. And it won the best soundtrack of the year, which I'm very lucky to have won. But however, and this, I think this is also relates to, I hope to every one of you, is that the version I ended up as the one to submit was the version 93. So actually I did 93 versions of this. And that's also a process that I also do in Star Citizen. Music doesn't come at first take, not at second, not at third and fourth. I actually, when I show to anyone, it's probably in my 15th take, because unless, for example, Star Engineer was not that time, actually was almost at first, but I was lucky. But maybe because I'm so stubborn, when I do all the music there is time, I really want to make it good. So it takes a long time. It makes you hear it and say, okay, it's good, but it's not good enough. I can improve. I will sleep on it. Maybe tomorrow is better. And so this music came. I will tell you how I did it. I will go. So in chorus, I tried to make a music that would recreate my roots of music composition, which were from Commodore Amiga. Some of you may know I started making music in 93, actually. So my first music, the first music I did, my father heard it. It was made on Octamed Pro, an Amiga tracker. So I tried to recreate this main theme using that. I cheated on this one. I used a little bit more orchestra. Sorry. Yeah, that was the main thing. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, and also, I wanted to end this speech as I'm about to close with this phrase, "Dare to dream." There was a commercial I did with Chris Roberts. God knows how many versions of the music I did with him because it was never what he wanted. It's not because he was being picky, but because the message was important to him. Dare to dream. There was, the commercial. It's for the Mustang commercial. It was not one of the most popular ones, but I think the message in it is probably the most important message of all the commercials. I suspect that Chris Roberts himself wrote the script because it's dare to dream, dare to defy the norm, and it comes with the stuff that I was speaking about. You know, people will usually tell you in life that some things are just not possible. But it's okay to dream and not quit your dreams. At least I advise you not to. That's what I can say. And this is a bit pretentious to show. Maybe I put this here. I'm a bit reluctant to show, but as I actually posted it on my social media because I think Chris actually named me in the last after the Star Engine was shown. And I put this to show to a couple of people some time ago that didn't know what Star Engine was. So there's no point showing it to you. But the thing is, when I did the Star Engine and Chris named my name, I just looked back to '93 playing my father next to me, Wing Commander. And then a few years later, after learning for God knows how many, more than 10 years music, and then when finally I wanted to start, everyone's telling me, no, it's impossible. And you just keep doing it. And then 30 years later, it comes to that day, and it really felt good, and but it's so. It's no point showing that, but I just want to thank you for your support on Star Citizen. Thank you for supporting me as well, being kind to me online and here on the Beacon. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And we should first, don't give up on your dreams, for real. And but don't think they come overnight. It comes by hard work. Nothing comes by just granted. That's all I can say. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Pedro.
It was
Always a pleasure to have you here. You're always doing efforts to come and have talk and take time with people. That's really great to see. Je remercie Pedro. J'espère que vous avez apprécié sa conférence. Pour ceux qui ne savent pas, un album spécifique a été fait pour la Beacon, sur lequel Pedro a participé. Si vous souhaitez avoir une signature, if they want to sign.
At 6 cons.
That's it.
In 15 minutes.
À 6 heures, une séance de dédicace est prévue dans le hall de la convention qui est un peu plus loin. Donc n'hésitez pas à y aller. Et si vous avez besoin d'une copie de l'album, il est en vente au store. Si jamais il est écoulé, on prend aussi les réservations si on doit refaire un tirage.
If anyone has a question, I don't know. If anyone
Est-ce
has
que vous avez des
questions,
questions pour Pedro?
or I'm here, so we just. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hello.
What DAW do you use to produce music?
Oh yeah, I use Cubase.
Cubase. Okay.
That's the one I use the most, actually.
How does it start for you to work with orchestra? How it works for a composer to work with a large group of people? Just to know that.
Many people have many ways. There are some composers that just maybe because they didn't learn so much classical composition, they just hire orchestrators and they just take care of the deal, and they just come on the day of the orchestra and just see if everything is going okay. I like to orchestrate everything I do because I think that makes a difference. For me, it takes quite a long time, because when you write, I think, a good piece of music for the orchestra to play, you have to think as the player, and each line has to be by itself a melody. If I'm being too specific for people that are not composers, but so you know, usually we're trained nowadays in music that music is like vertical harmony with a melody on top, but that's not. That's wrong. Music is actually horizontal lines that line up with harmony by chance in a specific way to sound correct or well or better. I don't know. This is very debatable, but above all, I think you have to give something that they feel inspired, because there is something, each person in the orchestra has probably learned their instrument for more than 20 years, has played the best composers ever in history. So they don't want to play your music or anyone's music. But once the session is going, and I was grateful and thankful enough to have happened in the music that or at least I felt it, they start playing, just another gig, we're just going to get over in a few hours. But midway, if the writing is good, you see them starting to stop looking at the paper and just enjoying themselves and trying to get those lines to sound better. And I think that's where the magic happens. And it takes quite some preparation. I'm not kidding. Like, I would say at least 5 years, 10 years probably. But I think that's at least what I suggest. So it takes. You need to learn in conservatory.
D'autres questions? Any more questions?
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
I just wanted to know, how did you feel that the music you composed for Star Citizen was the right one? And as we saw for the demo of the Star Engine, will we see the same theme that you use for this song later on the verse, or maybe in Squadron 42? I don't know. Will we see some theme, something that when we heard it, we will say, "Oh yeah, that's Star Citizen," as the same for Star Wars or some.
Okay,
stuff like
I
that?
see. Yeah, well, in the Star Engine, I actually ended up doing a new melody because I thought, you know, the game has come such a long way. It just deserved a new melody. It was a melody for the engine itself. To be honest, I'm not. I don't have in my mind right now to reuse it. I think that's something for Star Engine commercial. I think it's good. Maybe I can come up with something even better later on. I'm not sure. Maybe I hope so. So the question? You kind of deviated from the question, but how was it to create the music for that? How did I know the music was correct? I'm not sure. One thing I knew when I started, I can tell you is what I thought when I started working on Star Citizen. I knew it had to be a mixture to me that felt my childhood, because it started with my father, so it had to be a link with my childhood, but also with the futuristic scoring, so it had to be a link of the both worlds somehow. And also I knew that I really didn't want to use the cliches that we kind of are used to in sci-fi music, especially not in the main themes. For example, using high trumpets in staccato. Everyone knows what that feels. It feels like Star Wars immediately, and it's good. In '80s, it was great. Nowadays, it's kind of, I don't know. It's being a bit repetitive, in my opinion. But it was a style of composition that was, in fact, was done by Holst. If you know the composer Holst, that's the one who you should credit for that kind of exact style of composition. And it's still being used more than 100 years later, which is great. So I didn't want Star Citizen to ever sound like that. Otherwise, it will feel like a wannabe project with something. Star Citizen had to be established as itself, in my honest opinion, and I think it deserves so, as a true, one of the most important sci-fi IPs in existence nowadays. That's what I feel. I didn't want it to feel like Mass Effect, because it was a great, important game in the game history. So I tried to avoid the ARP-ish, arpeggiators and Sims, which kind of felt a little bit like that's made main ingredient to, at least to my memory of Mass Effect. So I did use it a little bit here in Star Engine, but it's masked with a lot of lyricism and the melodies. That I wanted to give that, the lyricism, the passion to go. Also, one of the things I wanted in Star Citizen, even though it's not always easy, because each audio director has also another viewpoint of how things should sound. We have to negotiate, of course. But I looked at this at the sky as not as futuristic sounding, but as classical sounding. I don't know why. It feels like majestic to me. There was a piece I wrote a long time ago in 2013, which is my YouTube channel actually, which is Majesty of Space. I don't know if you ever heard of it, and it feels just grand. And that's, if I can describe space, that's how I would describe it. So yeah, I don't know. The music in Star Citizen just felt right with time. I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, it's not the best answer, but it's so tough.
Thank you. So the music in Star Citizen is very varied, right? Like Origin sounds like Origin, and like Selin has its own thing. Out in Deep Space has its own thing. Grimhex is Grimhex. You know, like every single thing you do in the game, like every single place has its own feel, its own vibe, its own soul. In movies, like, you know, the way Howard Shore did the scoring for Lord of the Rings, for instance, like in Concerning Hobbits, you know, like you hear this track and you know it sounds like Lord of the Rings. You know, like in the next scene, you know, like they're not in the shower anymore, you still hear the same motif going through it. With Star Citizen, like, you know, we have like, you know, da 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 da, you know, like we have that and we hear it sometimes, but it's not like, you know, it's not everywhere. Like, do you, as a composer, are you kind of like against like a repeating motif or?
No, actually not. Curious. No, that's a good question. But I've tried many times to include the main melody in some tracks, but for some reason, I don't know. The other directors who I worked with kind of said, "Okay, let's leave the main theme for a more special occasion." So that's always like an argument, and I have actually end up removing it. But when I compose for each planet, what I do try is, so space is the orchestra, that's kind of the idea, and the planets are the mix with the orchestra, with the influences and the culture of that planet. So that's kind of a general idea. And I think each planet needs to have its own history, because Star Citizen as a game also is a bit still open-ended, because it has no, I'm just creating an open box music. I suppose that if I get a storyline in ArtCorp, I will do, as you say, reuse continuously the melodic motives from ArtCorp. If I am in Hurston, I'll probably use maybe one of my best songs, which is in the piano, is that in piano. Remember, with the glide on the synth. I think I like doing that. That was it was a very tough moment for me in life, so it just felt so good to write it. So so that track is very close to my heart. So probably I will reuse that motive a lot more. So maybe, so I understand what you say, but Star Citizen is also so. Each planet is so unique by itself. It would feel like cheap just reusing the same motives. Also, I'm not scoring a story. I'm scoring an open-ended universe. So it has to be kind of still open-ended for now. If it was Squadron 42, if I was scoring, which is Geoff Zanelli, by the way, he's an awesome composer. If any of you don't know him, you should check him out. He's awesome. And Geoff Zanelli is using more motives because he's reusing. It's easier because, you know, where that character appears, he is the major, so he needs this theme for the major, this theme for this character, and then so it's easy to recall the themes because of what is happening on screen. I think if I was reusing, let's think other India in the reverse. If I always using the Star Citizen main theme melody everywhere, it would feel like probably less refreshing when you get to a new planet as well. So there's a trade-off. So I don't know. I see your point. You're right, but the reverse also has a problem. So kind of I try to use the melody as a small hint when I do a big marketing piece that fits somehow to the Star Citizen overall world. So if it makes sense.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Thanks, everyone. We have to wrap up because we have a thing next up.
Thank you very much.
Merci à tous. Et une fois de plus, je vous invite à retrouver Pedro et les autres compositeurs de l'album au hall de la Constitution.